So right now, more than ever, a lot of people are looking at buying cheap property in Japan. It seems to be blowing up across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever. People are selling cheap properties, akiya this, akiya that. And now a lot of people think maybe this is my way into the Japanese market or into a business or something along those lines. You're looking at an old house, an old ski lodge, a cafe, a restaurant, a ski rental, whatever it may be. But here's the big problem. Just buying the property doesn't automatically give you a visa. So now with the big changes with the business manager's visa, which a lot of people operated under, including ourselves, the dream definitely hasn't disappeared, but it's definitely moved the yardstick a lot further for a lot of people that are maybe they only had $50,000, $60,000 and that's what they were looking on. Maybe I'll buy a cheap house, set up a business off the back of that and go from there, which a lot of us have all grown from that here in Japan over the last sort of 5, 10, 20 years. Now, I'm not saying it can't be done, definitely can still be done, but the old buy it and we'll figure it out later sort of thing, those days are sort of gone. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at what's changed and some things you might want to think about before you just jump in and buy the next cheapest akiya you might see pop up on TikTok. So before we get into it, I'm definitely not an immigration lawyer, so don't take everything I say as gospel. Definitely do your own research. Ask Claude, ask ChatGPT, even talk to an actual lawyer. Now, we've bought and operated property in Japan since 2018, so we've been in the game for a few years now, so we do have a basic understanding of it all. But yes, the rules are always changing, and more importantly, recently they've changed a lot compared to where they were only a year ago. Now, since October 2025, the rules have changed a lot. So that's what we're going to break down in today's video. So I think the biggest misunderstanding is we get a lot of questions around, can I buy property? And is there any property available in Myoko? And these sort of things. Yes, you still can buy property. You can own it freehold. You own the land, all that sort of thing. That hasn't changed yet. This may change in time to come, but at the moment that hasn't changed. So that's a good thing. But buying the property and then getting permission to live in Japan year round, that's the big thing that's shifted. Buying the property automatically doesn't just give you residency, which a lot of people think that. I mean, it's a fair thing to think. You know, buying property, surely I should be given residency. Some countries do that. Japan is not one of them. So one of the most pathways that most people do when they're looking at setting up a business in Japan is they will explore, obviously, the visas and things, and that has been the business manager's visa in the past. Especially for a lot of us that haven't come from the corporate background or something like that, where they may have been living in Tokyo, but then got sick of Tokyo and then wanted to move out or whatever it may be. So let's look at the big things, what's actually changed. You may have seen a video or two on this or read a couple of papers on it. That's what we're going to be breaking down today. To a lot of people, for years, it was the 5 million yen threshold. That's what you needed to establish a company. And then off the back of that, then you could get your business manager's visa. So a lot of people, would they buy a small house or a lodge or something, and even the purchase price of that lodge could go towards the 5 million yen capital, even if it was 10 million or 5 of that would cover the 5 million capital required to start the company. And this is what we did actually when we bought our first lodge, Mountain Nut. A part of that purchase price was enough to get that 5 million over the line. But from October last year, the rules have tightened up a lot. The headline, the big one everyone's talking about, the 5 to 30 million. Yes, that has come through 6 times higher, but the money is only part of it. The new rules are really about proving that the business is real. It's not a shell company. I think there are a lot of people, maybe not in the ski towns as much, but definitely in the cities, were sort of setting up these paper companies or shell companies that didn't really have anything hard backed on it or anything. They were just sort of coming in, setting up a shell company for 5 million yen, didn't really do anything, wasn't very productive in any way, did nothing to overall Japanese society or anything. But still, they had all the entitlements to healthcares and all these sort of things, and they could start bringing their family in or whatever it may be. This is what was happening, and I think this is their solution to try and cut back on a lot of that. So yes, new rules now, you need a proper business plan. Obviously AI and chat and Claude can all do the heavy lifting on this sort of thing these days, but you still need to give a good input to make these business plans and then translate that to Japanese. But you can't come in with a wishy-washy, I'm just going to buy a lodge and then see how I go and run it with no prior experience in running a lodge or any sort of business degree or anything like that. This definitely helps now strengthen that application for that business manager's visa. And also your Japanese language ability as well, which is something that I'm definitely not good at by any means. Yes, I can speak a bit of Japanese, but it's definitely not where it should be. So that's another thing you've got to factor in as well. Definitely start brushing up on that Japanese if you're looking at coming out here. I mean, you can get away with a fair bit, but it's just great to be able to speak to your neighbors and these sort of things as well. Even if it's only basic conversation, it goes a long way in Japan. And it's something that I'm still consciously working on, but it's for me, I don't pick up language super easy. If you do speak Japanese, I think that'll put you well ahead of the pack as well. Especially if you're sort of business level fluency, I think that would be pretty key. So just the sheer number of applications has dropped quite substantially. So after the new rules, the new business manager visa applications have reportedly dropped by around 96%. So it's not necessarily saying that they're knocking back 96% of people. It's just the applications have dropped back quite substantially from the reports that we're getting anyway. Now, like I said, I don't work for immigration. This is just the reports that I've come back and I've been reading over recently, and the big changes, how this has affected the application process. So in the past, they were getting around 1,700 a month. Now they're back down to about 70 a month. But still, it hasn't seemed to have sped up the application process by any means. I'm about 2 months into a current renewal of my visa. Still no word on what's happening. And this is, we've had this visa for a number of years now. So in reality, it should be fairly straightforward, you would think, but it just depends on the day or who's going through it. And this is not in Tokyo. This is the local Nagano branch closest to us. It's still taking a good amount of time to get back to whether we're getting approved for another year. So before the changes and after the changes. For a lot of people asking, can I start something with 5 million? A lot of people could sort of rummage up 5 million yen or $50,000 Australian or Kiwi, or wherever you may be from, and get something off the ground. It would be bare bones, you bootstrapping away along you go sort of thing. But that was achievable for a lot of people. Now 30 million, that's a bit more of a stretch for a lot more people. Some of you maybe not, but for a lot of us, that is a big jump. Now the better question is, can I prove this is a real business that I'm looking at starting or buying or whatever it may be, not just some wishy-washy idea that you may have thought of on a Friday night sort of thing. So let's just have a quick look, high-level look at the before and after, what's changed for the foreign business owners on the business manager. So yeah, initially 5 million yen capital, now 30. Staff, you didn't have to employ someone local. Now they're saying it is required one full-time local Japanese person you have to get on the team. You have to, in the past, you used to have a basic business plan. I think we submitted a page or two, something along those lines. Now it has to be a lot more stronger, a lot more solid, probably backed by like some heavy, financial projections or even bookings and things you may even have in the line, or, some business that you've come from your home country you're trying to bring to Japan, or it has to be a lot more clear cut, a lot more of a solid business plan, I feel. It seems like they're really looking more for the serious operators. So yeah, bottom line, yes, buying property is still possible. I'm not trying to crush anyone's dream there. If you just want to buy a holiday house, come out here for a couple of weeks or a month in winter, definitely 100% can still do that. But if you're trying to look at being out here more year round or run it as a business, that's where things get trickier as well. And also with a house, generally if you have a house, you have bills and utility bills and everything that comes with that, unless you have a management company that can sort of take care of that sort of stuff for you. You need a bank account, you need a vehicle, and all these things get a lot trickier without a visa. Property, straightforward. You can literally buy one in a weekend. Everything else around that, quite tricky. There's no real simple path to set up a bank account without a visa or anything along those lines. Or not that I've come across yet. If you have managed to navigate this and open up bank accounts and buy vehicles and everything without a visa, yeah, definitely drop that in the comments, how you've gone about that. Is this something new that you've done, or is this something you did maybe 5-10 years ago? As far as I'm aware, it's very hard to open a bank account and set up direct debits and all these sort of things that you need when you buy property without that visa. So now why this matters for people that are looking to buy, like this is especially important if you're looking at Japanese property through the lifestyle lens. Maybe you've seen a cheap akiya online. Everyone seems to be selling or promoting these 10, 20, 30,000 US dollar properties up and down the country, all over the place. They exist. They definitely exist, and they're there. Some are push over, some bit of work, and then you're back up and running sort of thing. But you also need to start thinking about, have you thought about buying in a small ski town or a small rural town somewhere, how that even looks? This is especially important if you're looking at Japanese property through the lifestyle sense. Maybe you're looking at buying a cheap house, or you're looking at countryside houses, or buying a small ski lodge in a ski town, or opening a cafe or a guest house, or something along those lines. And I completely understand why. Like, this is what we fell in love with. The opportunities were a lot more there than what we were finding back in Australia or New Zealand when we were sort of first started out on this journey. To me at the time, it almost seemed like a no-brainer. And Japan is amazing. Good snow, good food, great people, relatively safe country. Well, actually, to be honest, one of the safest countries I think I've ever been to. I've never felt unsafe at all in Japan. Now, if you hang around the dodgy streets in Tokyo after dark, maybe it's slightly different, but once you get sort of rural, it's honestly one of the safest countries I think I've ever been into the world. And I'm from New Zealand, which is also a pretty safe country as well. But I don't know, Japan is super safe. It's, don't have to lock the doors or anything like that. Everything just, it's a super safe country in that regard. And property can look so much more affordable, especially in Australia and New Zealand. There's housing crisis and the average house price seems $1 million, it seems, for some clapped out old weatherboard Queenslander or something. Whereas there, you go over with 50 or 100 grand, you can actually buy a half decent house. Now it might not be in Tokyo or Osaka or something like that, but if you go a little bit rural out from there, you can buy some pretty solid homes at very attractive prices. And then if you wanted to go one step further and set it up in a ski town, then you can set up a business off the back of that, or whatever you may be looking at. It's a lot more achievable for a lot of people. Even with these changes, it's still a lot more achievable for a lot of people, as opposed, it's just got a little bit trickier from that 50 to, from the 50,000 or 5 million yen to the 30 million or 300 grand. So the one thing you really need to consider now is the operator reality of it all. Like, it's a great idea, especially after a few beers on a Friday, chatting with the lads down the pub. Yeah, we should all go buy a ski lodge or whatever it is. Honestly, nearly everyone that comes to visit us in Miyako, they all seem to have the same idea. They want to buy a place, it seems so cheap and everything seems great. But then the reality of it all, can you actually do it? So that's something you really want to sit down with yourself or with your family or whatever it may be, and discuss how this is actually going to work. Buying a property is only one small piece of the puzzle, I feel. You know, if you're trying to run a business in Japan, you've got to think about who's going to staff it, who's going to live there, who speaks Japanese, you know, dealing with the accountants, who handles insurance, who's talking to the guests, who clears the snow, who fixes the blower, who does this, who does that. You know, payments, bookings, everything. There's a lot of work that goes into it, even if it's only during the winter season. Maybe you want to operate year round, that's great as well, but there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to run a ski lodge in the winter, let's say. This is the real business. Now, it's not just the dream. It's a dream for a lot of people, and it was for me and still is, you know, but there's the Instagram version, the TikTok, yeah, I bought this. Then there's reality. There's a lot of hard work that goes into that, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat that at all. There is a lot of work that goes into it. You talk to anyone in town, in Miyoko, Hakuba, Niseko, anyone that runs a winter tourism business, they will say how much work it is. Now, it doesn't matter. You could have a great team around you, and that definitely helps, but there's always the unknowns. You're dealing with an ungodly amount of snow. There's staff issues. There's car accidents. There's a number of different things that can crop up during the busy winter season. So it is still possible. I don't want this to you know, curb anyone. And if you're pumped to do this and this is what you want to do, I'm not trying to curb your enthusiasm, but I just want to sort of, you know, bring it back to reality a little bit. There seems to be a huge trend at the moment of people wanting to buy property in Japan, renovate old akiyas or whatever it is. Definitely great idea. Definitely look into it. But have a good think about how you're actually going to run that if you're trying to run it as a business, or even how you're going to live there year round, even if you don't need to run it as a business, even if you just want to retire there. I don't know what your situation looks like, but yeah, have a good think about how you're actually going to live there year round, or how are you going to sustain your business if it's just a seasonal business as well. This is something that we're all sort of getting affected with at the moment, is we all operate a lot of just seasonal businesses predominantly in the winter months. It doesn't seem like there was much consideration given to the business manager visa for seasonal businesses. Now look, we're all going through this at the moment. Like I said, I'm halfway through an application, or I'm waiting for a renewal at the moment. I'm about 2 months in. Hopefully I should hear in the next few weeks or month the outcome of that. Maybe there'll be an updated video. Didn't get it. Hopefully that's not the case. We've met all the thresholds as far as I'm aware. The one threshold which we may not meet is they want people in Japan for majority of the year if you're on this business manager's visa. They don't want you only there for 3 or 4 months. Now this is where in the past we have spent a lot more of the year in Japan, but now as our son comes up to school age, we're going to put him in the Australian schooling system. You know, we may be spending a bit more time in Australia than we are in Japan. So this may affect the visa as well. So all these things affect everyone here in town. So the last big takeaway, yes, buying a property in Japan is still possible. I don't want to crush that dream for anyone. If this is what you're looking at doing and you're seriously wanting to consider it, definitely 100% pursue it. It is one of the best things you may possibly ever do. Starting a business in Japan, definitely still possible. I'm not trying to say it's not, but the rules have changed. Building a lifestyle around that business and that property that you're looking at buying, definitely still possible as well. Buying property in Japan will not automatically give you the visa. That's the big thing I probably want to make from this video. Dream is not dead, still alive and well. But yeah, just to be a bit more aware about and probably a bit more mindful. You can't sort of be as blasé about it and just roll in and we'll figure it out as we go sort of thing, which is what we essentially did, to be honest. But back then it was a different sort of environment. You could get away with that a bit. These days you have to come in with a bit more of a clearer plan and everything I've sort of discussed in this video. And if you are coming to Miyoko, please swing by 2 Pines, come down for a beer or say good day. If you are looking at Miyoko, 100% great little community and everyone generally helps each other out because there's a lot to navigate, especially for someone that's not familiar with it all. It's taken us a good number of years to sort of understand. And by no means do we have it dialed in, definitely not, but we do have a pretty good understanding now on what works and what you're allowed to do and what you can't do and that sort of thing. Anyway, all the best and we'll catch you in the next one.